You're ready to be premature all over again.
Wow, that's impressive.
Quick
bro.
reset.
Yeah.
Quick reset.
Last night was Ramos Jizz.
Freudian slip. Who knew the job was pro bono?
I was so high that I shit myself at some point.
Okay, get still here. Somebody, everybody mute. Goddamn it, you're killing me.
My SEAL Team 6 went to SEAL Team 12.
There's nothing wrong with punching above your weight.
I thought you'd get better.
Well,
I don't know what's
also-
worse. You're a ginger or you've been vaccinated.
You sit around and drink and solve the world's problems, right?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Four Horsemen are here. Los Cuatro Jinetes are in the house once again. The studio is packed and we are ready. Gentlemen, looking forward to this one. I'm not sure how this one's going to go, but before we start, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Boom shakalaka.
Oochie
Mofo.
boochies, Brody.
Wait, what?
I mean, if you're gonna do boom shakalaka, come on, bro.
So what did you do?
Come on.
What's wrong
Come
with my boom shakalaka?
I
Bro.
think Haas just shit himself.
Bro.
That's what it was.
I mean,
Well,
boom
that's
shakalaka.
not really saying much because you know.
boom
wind
shakalaka
can
comes from the
blow.
anus, and it works itself up through the diaphragm into the cockle, into the. I mean,
If your
you
cockle
can't
is in your diaphragm, you got a problem, brother.
you and
You
I
might want
can
to.
agree.
You might want to go
No,
see one
sir.
of those
Sir,
doctors in
meet-
a bathroom.
when you meet many of the
Bratislava.
women satisfied by my cockle experiences, then we can have a conversation on where it should be located or not.
You know,
Did
one
you
could-
trip and fall and hurt yourself
Yeah.
and leave a big cock imprint in the
That
sidewalk?
was that was apparently that was Grinch, and 5 times he sent that beam in the last like 36 hours.
Well, one might say how you do boom shakalaka is how you do everything.
I feel like my.
you know
I
what?
stand
That's
by
a
my
great
boom
debate.
shakalaka.
We should. That's a great debate. We should do that sometime because I think I might agree to disagree.
Well, let's find out. Look, I don't want to waste anybody's time. Let's go ahead and jump into our drinks. I'm going to go first. Based on today's topic, you know me, I always try to do something related to the topic. So I'm doing what's called the philosopher. I was having an existential crisis today, and so I'm like, what should I do? If I do it,
What
is it really?
existential crisis were you having?
If I do it, is it really doing it? What kind of effort do I put into this drink, and will I put that kind of effort into the show?
Are we in a simulation?
Are we?
Oh, of course.
So I'm doing what's called the philosopher, and this is it. I'm actually I have tried it, and I will tell. Okay, I'm doing the philosopher. It's a gin.
Let me just go ahead and say how you're doing this is a shit show.
I know.
Okay.
If
So
this is how you do
Is that how,
everything,
is that how you
this is
do
not
everything?
how
Exactly.
you do anything.
It is gin, melon liqueur, orange bitters, lemon juice, and then you top it with prosecco. So, Haas, I know you were out doing your prosecco brunch, so I thought, hey, this is perfect.
Bro,
This works.
so much prosecco.
Um,
Goddamn prosecco.
I did try it after I made it, and here it is. And I can tell you, I'm not impressed with it. Yeah, this is
Not going to find its way in the rotation.
probably how how Haas views the Boulevardier. This will definitely not be going in the rotation,
bro.
and
Hey, bro.
I
you
cannot
ever eaten ass?
philosophize.
Have you ever eaten ass? Like really gotten in there with bib, ass,
And Tucker, Bib,
I mean,
Bib and
just-
Tucket.
Yeah. Have you ever like gone, like dove in there?
Yeah,
it
like
was,
with the snorkel
life?
and the goggles. Of
It was
course.
life.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
sucking for life. Yeah. Have you ever
This-
done that? Really? Legit? Seriously?
This will
Legit.
not-
Legit. Have you ever done that? Yes or no?
You mean with the goggles and all that? No.
Bro, you can't get goggles in there. Don't patronize me. I'm asking you a serious goddamn question.
Hey, Grinch,
Have you ever
Grinch,
really
how you doing
dove-
today, man?
Good, man.
Yes.
That's good. I'm doing well.
Yes.
Doing
Yeah,
well.
no.
What'd you make today?
What does that? Yes, and what does that have to do with what I'm talking about? The drink.
Did you like that taste?
I made
That,
this.
that looks like a
I
really
didn't
good
mind
drink,
it.
Grinch. What's in
Did you
that?
like that taste? Did
It's
you like
called
going in and
Smoke in mirrors.
mom and some,
the
on some
vagina and the anus are that far apart.
I
okay?
know.
If you've tasted
Bro,
one, you've tasted
There's
this.
a lot of things that are that far apart, which means the difference between good life and bad life.
All
So
of a sudden, I don't want my tuna sandwich anymore. I'm just saying.
Either way, this will not be making it into the rotation. I'm just putting it out there. So I'm drinking the philosopher for today's episode. All right, Haas. What about you, ass eater? What are you eating or drinking today?
I'm drinking a drink called the Ass Eater. Well, look at it. Look at it. Tell me it's not. Look at that.
Okay, man. Somebody
That's
shit in a
good,
cup.
like vitamin rich,
Starches.
nutrients.
Somebody shit in a glass with an ice cube.
hmm It's the best drink on earth. It's made from people.
And it is. What is it?
It was just Diplomatica Reserva.
Okay. So rum
Rum.
on ice
Oh.
on one ice cube. Okay. Grinch, you've held it up. You've said this is what I'm drinking. I don't know what it is, but can you go
It's
ahead
called
and
the
elaborate?
Smoke and Mirrors, which
Smoke
I
and
also
Mirrors.
thought tied into our theme.
It does.
One
So
and
we're
a
trying to
half
compare it to the
ounce.
crappy Boulevardier.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than that. But 1.5 ounces of Blanco tequila, half ounce mezcal.
Hold on, vodka, tequila,
Blanco,
and
Blanco
Blanco tequila and
tequila.
mezcal. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
and grenadine and lime juice.
That's it.
This is your
Mhm.
second foray into mezcal recently, I think.
Well,
Isn't it?
now I got to deal with the fucking bottle because I didn't have any small bottles.
You know you can pour that shit out. There's no shame in that.
Yeah, I mean,
just so you know.
Hey Grinch, I'm pretty sure that your net worth equals or is greater than that shitty
bottle
3
of
pour
mezcal.
finger
That's it.
mezcal.
No, I
that
like
you
it.
have.
I like
You're such
And of course, I did
But
come to
it's
the
smoky.
realization.
It's just what I was looking for today.
Yeah, I did come to the
Okay.
realization that between the Boulevardier and ass, Haas has eaten ass more than he's drank the Boulevardier.
You have no
He
idea, bro.
hopes so.
You have no idea what that ratio is. And I'm here to tell you, you'll never find out. I'm also here to tell you, I still like eating ass more than I like drinking the Boulevardier.
Then there we go.
Do you know why?
So Mac, what did you make today?
Mac, what did you make today?
I just made a Kentucky buck. Back to the old, tried and true. It works.
That's it.
How you do anything is how you do
You
everything.
do everything.
Yep. It's the Knob Creek
Is it
Nine.
though?
It's like the
It's
it's like the
the,
argument's just making itself
It's
as
not
we go.
right.
Is it though?
And he makes every
Yeah.
drink, and Mac
Yeah.
makes every drink like a margarita.
Yeah. This was not what I intentionally was planning on making, but as you guys know, I had to shift
Time.
and pivot really fucking quick today.
Okay, so with that
Thanks,
being
Home
said,
Depot.
what were you going to drink today?
I was actually going to make a mojito because
I thought
one of
you'd
our
say
neighbors, kids picked off a bunch of mint off a mint plant in their yard and handed it to me yesterday. So I was like, well, now I have mint. So
Can't let that go to waste.
If life gives you mint, you make a mojito.
There you go. Or a mint julep.
Random neighbor
mint
mint.
julep.
Tell you what, nothing quite as good as some random neighbor mint.
Just giving you mint.
How can you take everything and just make it dirty, man?
Because I live
How
in
you
LA,
do
bro.
it.
I
How
just
you do
live
it.
in LA.
That's
do
Haas.
everything.
How you
That's
do
Mac.
everything.
Nice to
Fair
meet
enough.
you. All right. Well, there we go. Shit
Cheers,
in a cup.
motherfuckers.
My philosopher, his smoke and mirrors, and Mac's Kentucky Buck. Cheers, gentlemen.
And it is in a copper cup.
Because you knew he was going to ask.
And
It is
it is
nothing if not a creature of
delicious.
habit.
That Knob Creek 9 year is pretty good.
All right. Normally, I would start off every episode by saying, let's go to work. But let's be honest, this didn't work. So let's go have some fun. That's what we're
Well,
going to do today.
hold on.
Grinch, you mistakenly brought this to the table. So I'm going to let you take over at this point. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to drink. I'm going to let you drive the bus.
Ooh, can I mute people?
No, but if you give me the look, I'll mute people.
Hey, where the box is relative to me?
Okay.
I'm like,
Mac is straight above you. So look up. That's Mac.
okay.
If you look straight to your left, that's Haas.
All right. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not
So
being
look
viewed.
to your left right now. Haas, you look the other way. No, Haas, you look the other way. There you go. This is like, what was it? The Brady
Here's the
Bunch when they were all in the
story.
boxes. That's what we're doing here.
Or
The problem
Hollywood
is the boxes
Squares.
are different for everybody.
That's true. That's true.
Hollywood Squares, yeah.
All right, Grinch. So I'm going to let you
Because
take
I'm on
over
top
from
of
here,
Haas.
and let's go have some fun, brother.
So there was a quote, which we've already used a number of times, that was in a movie that has been like just stuck in my brain since I heard it. And the quote is, how you do anything is how you do everything. It was originated by a Harvard professor, a Harvard trained sociologist. She's also a world-renowned coach and New York Times bestselling author, named Martha Beck. And it kind of resides in that motivational speaking world of like what the intent of the quote is, because it's designed to kind of give you a way of thinking about how you do things. And if you start improving some things, it can translate into other things. So, I mean, the one answer on like, well, what does it even mean is it would suggest that how you manage most situations, challenges, or other experiences in your life is probably a good indication of how you handle almost all of the occurrences in your life. And so
And see what's
Malarkey.
weird
The-
before we
It's
start. What's
malarkey,
weird
right?
is your quote was what? How you do
anything
is
it
how
was,
you
yes,
do
I'm quoting Martha Beck, of
everything.
course, but
Right.
you're right.
How
I
you
think
do
this-
anything is how you do everything. And yet, when you read the statement from the article, there it was suddenly it was most things, almost everything. I was
Well,
like,
nobody
it's
nobody
either
grabs
You
onto
can't, yeah.
almost how you do something is
Look,
pretty
I'm-
much how you do
That's a
of
lot
things.
less motivational than
Yeah. You don't motivate people with a phrase like
but
that.
let me ask you this, Grinch. You brought this to the table. So do you feel contextually that quote holds any water or weight?
Yes, I do.
Really?
so you're in
Really?
the yes camp. You're in the
I
agreement
think-
camp.
Yes, I
Okay.
think there are fingerprints and like similarities in how you do most everything, whether it's yard work, approach email, texting, relationships.
Bro,
Hold on. Let him
bro.
finish.
Okay.
yes.
We'll go around the
I-
room.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
Everybody
I'm
has
sorry.
their chance.
Max being polite and shaking his head no, and I'm over here.
What?
like,
No, I'm
What?
just shaking.
Okay,
No,
okay.
no,
I'm
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 just
over
shaking
here
my head because
hyperventilating.
he mentioned
I'm
yard
sorry.
work, and
Well,
that's a
yeah,
bitter
okay,
subject
okay.
for me right now.
Oh, okay.
I want to get around the room first before we dive into this conversation. So, Grinch, you are clearly in the yes, I agree with
Yes.
this quote camp. All right, Mac, what about you, brother?
I think I agree with it too.
Okay, do you agree with
Yeah.
the quote, or are you just agreeing with Grinch out of hand because that's what you do?
Uh
Yeah, I agree.
He said yes, absolutely, 100%.
I said what
I
I
said what I said.
I did
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
Mac. Just so
No,
lovely.
I agree with the quote.
Okay, you do agree with the quote. How
Yeah.
you do anything is effectively how you do almost
I
everything.
think so. Yeah. No, I mean,
Okay.
obviously, as you know, Grinch kind of pointed out in the explanation, there are outliers to that, right? I mean, there, nothing is hard and fast, nothing's black and white, as we've talked about before. But I think I agree that on the whole, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I agree.
All right, Haas,
Mm.
what about you, brother? What camp are you in? The yes or no?
I'm in the
Agree,
camp. Like,
disagree?
you don't eat pussy the same way you make a sandwich, so it's bullshit.
Well,
bullshit.
Grinch
That's
would
what we're
make
going
the
with.
argument.
No,
You go into eating pussy
I would no.
100%.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in both instances. I guarantee you don't put the same enthusiasm into both of those things. You don't. As a dude, I know you don't. If you love one thing and you're passionate about it, the other thing's just a vehicle to like sustain you. You're not in there like massaging it and
Okay,
like
wait a minute.
caressing
Like a
it,
I-
loving
snorkel
it.
and goggles.
No.
As we have seen in our weight loss challenge thus
No.
far this year, I've lost no weight. I've actually gained slightly. I love my food. Now, I know
Uh-huh.
what you're going to do is make the connection. More than pussy, less than pussy.
Uh-huh.
It can be equal. That's the
Uh-huh.
point of Grinch's quote here, or Beck's quote,
Okay.
is it is not more or less than the other. It is an equal, I'm an equal opportunity lover in that regard.
But are you though?
No, actually, I'm not, because I don't agree. I'm sorry. Do you agree? Because what you did is went off on a tirade about eating pussy.
Yeah.
Do you
Based
agree?
on the basis of that, what I feel like is an outdated and not specific enough quote. No, I don't. I don't think it's true. I don't think how you do one thing is how you do everything. I don't think that's true.
Okay. I am also in that same camp with you with the disagreement. And yes,
house divided. I like it.
I know
I like
it.
Grinch, when Grinch sent it out, I'm sorry, Martha, what's her first name?
Martha Black. Beck.
Martha
Beck.
Beck says how you do anything is how you do everything. I think I actually responded with how you do one thing. Maybe I bastardized it, but I guess that would
It's
still
the
be
same
true,
idea.
right?
It's
One
the
thing.
same idea. Yeah.
Right. I don't agree with that philosophy. Grinch, you and I have touched on this throughout the week. I'm definitely, I think for me, firmly both feet planted in the I don't agree with that sentiment. Just taken out of hand the way you talked about it and the way in terms of the articles that I've read. No, I don't agree with that. And I'll say that, and I can jump into and we can elaborate as we discuss this. But yes, we are a house divided. We're 2-2.
Grinch, what do you think? Dos Jinetes? Does that have the same ring? I mean, if we,
It
if we
does.
branch
It
out
does.
onto
Man,
our
it
own
sounds so good.
podcast, it really
There you
does.
go.
It just rolls off your tongue.
It warms the cockles.
And I will gladly
Up
say
in your diaphragm.
I will gladly promote and wish you guys the best.
Yes. While we're off at brunch having prosecco together.
So
You just could be eating ass and thinking about how
Obviously-
you don't do it as good as making a sandwich.
I want to get back to what the point of the quote was.
Go for it. Okay. I sorry. So
Which
we know
is-
where everybody now resides. So go ahead.
Yes. I mean, you can take the words literal, but the point of it is from an inspirational perspective is to give you kind of an introspective moment of how you go about certain tasks, whether it's how you interact with people, how you drive, like I said, how you handle email and information in your world. Does the phone always stay in your hand? Does it not? Are you easily distracted? Do you have attention to detail, or are you more creative? Like, that's where I think this quote is coming from. And it's supposed to give you a framework to start thinking about how to improve. So if you're like, man, really sloppy, I keep shit all over the garage, it's not organized, I never know where anything is. Well, what if I were to start being better about organizing? Man, my email's a shit show. I don't know where anything is. I'm always late for meetings because I can't keep track of things. Like, those are the types of patterns. And what I believe the quote is saying is there are echoes from the small things to the big things, and where you start picking up on those patterns. And through that, you start looking to change the patterns to improve. But regardless, I still stand by. I believe if you think about a lot of things you do, your personality resonates into that.
Grinch,
Whether it's
I
how you
think-
played sports or how you drive, like I said, like you got
Grinch.
people that are aggressive drivers. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you are a beautiful human being, and I think it's great that you think that great about people through this quote. I still think the quote is, yeah, exactly. But I still think the quote is bullshit.
No. Don't get it twisted. I didn't say I think great of people. I said
No.
He's the
you can tell
last
things
person
about
No,
I
you
would have
did.
said.
But
So,
here's
no,
here's
no.
what I would say. Based on how you thought about that quote versus how I think about that quote, you think the best of people. You think when people read that quote, they should be evolving and internalizing and seeing themselves and doing a contrast and a comparison, to better themselves through that quote. That's what I heard you say.
Well,
I think
That's what I
Rich,
heard you say.
actually, I'll take it a step even further.
Okay.
If you're not even the kind of person who would seek to improve, you would get nothing out of the quote.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't connect with you in a way of like, I'm using it as a vehicle for improvement. I would very easily say there are people, in fact, definitely there's a person I'm not going to mention by name that I've used as an example to teach some vignettes out, where I was like, I bet this person is a fucking shit show in every aspect of it. Because of just how they behave in certain environments. I'm like, he's a fucking asshole. He's selfish. And I guarantee you he's that way in almost everything else he does.
And he doesn't need ass, right?
And so that's why I say it's a mirror if you're willing to look at it. What you get out of it is your own experience. And so I take it as it is, because it is. It's been in numerous motivational speaking videos and platforms of take this as a tool and start using it as a foundation. But I would also add it's very insightful, because I guarantee you there are people you can start thinking about, and like there are patterns of behavior in almost everything they do, and it traces into who they are.
Well, I can
So
go ahead.
sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but I mean,
No.
so the thing, making a sandwich, like, no, I don't think. Now you might, if you're very meticulous about your sandwich, you may find that you're very meticulous about everything else. But passion is something different, and then being with other humans and compromising is also an adult thing.
But that's my whole point. Is this? It's a very generalized statement, because I don't think it holds true. I really don't. I mean, I think it can hold true, but not from left to right, top to down, like front to back. I just don't think it's one of those statements or quotes. Look, it's catchy. I get it. It's good for motivation
on the surface. Yeah.
Right. I get all that. But do I look at that quote and be like, I'm getting that shit fucking tattooed on my taint? No, because it's not goddamn true. It's just not.
And there's not enough room down there
That's
already.
space. That much space
You don't know how
again
much
between
waste
the
down there,
balls.
homie. I do my Kegels. You don't know.
Look, just to use two examples that Grinch himself talked about, aggressive drivers, and how, I think you said how people approach sports. I think everybody here can agree, and I know, Mac, you can. I am uber competitive, right? When it comes to certain things.
A little bit.
I am, and I know it. I get that from
certain things.
No, but I'm just saying, but I am very competitive. But when it comes to driving, I'm the most laid back motherfucker. I don't care about red lights. My wife will get upset when somebody's driving too fast or what. I'm like, life's too fucking short. Oh, well. I don't approach things, but when it comes to being competitive, I can be a fucking asshole
Fair
because I
play.
know I'm
But-
competitive.
But I would say, then there's your pattern. You've just defined and
My pattern
stratified
is no pattern?
what matters to you and what doesn't. So by personality broadly, you have the ability to say, like, there are days where this is just, it doesn't fucking matter. And then there are days where it fucking does, and you turn it up, turn it on and off.
But
Other
there
people
are
more simply hardwired to be kind of one dimensional.
right. But I think there are times, and this is where I think the quote for me, there's a divergence, because I think the quote for me is situational. And I think I said this to you this week when we were online is, what is it that you said? If you don't learn from your past, you're doomed to repeat it, right? And you've always said that's a situational thing. That is not a blanket statement, because every situation's different. You cannot approach everything just going, oh, if I look back at XYZ, it's gonna apply to ABC. You know that's not true, or that's your position.
Yeah, I agree.
I think for me, this is a situational thing. How I approach work. There are days where I'm gung ho 100%, and there are days where I'm like, it is what it is. I'll get to it if I get to it. I'm not going to burden myself. I'm not going to kill myself. I talk about driving. I am not an aggressive driver, but there are days where I'm just like, fuck you. There are those moments. And I think it's when somebody puts my life at risk. Maybe those are the moments where they do something that potentially puts me at risk, where I'm like, you motherfucker. But, and again, then we go to sports or competitions, and I'm just uber competitive, and I don't know how to shake that, because I know I can be a little.
But do you need
much.
to shake that though? I don't know.
No, but I think for me, in looking at this quote, I think I tried to apply this quote across the board, and maybe in you reading that next thing going, you sometimes or almost always. And when you say it like that, then I'm like, okay, maybe, but
I
blanket
think,
statement,
but I think right now, you guys are like more like a 500-foot level or 1,000 feet, and I'm at like 30,000 feet, saying, look at the broader picture, and then start pulling out, like, and teasing out the patterns, because the patterns is who you are. And you have to use simple vignettes to illustrate the point, but I think the point, even driving and then like day to day, my pattern in driving is I have the easiest commute in the world. I don't really give a shit most days. But like you said, if somebody acts the fool, it fucking pisses me off.
Right.
Because one of my big patterns is I don't like it when individuals fuck up systems. Systems work better when everybody is cooperating in traffic, and like letting somebody in when they're not being a dick. They just got screwed.
But don't we know that chaos breeds, innovation?
Well, I'm not sure how that connects with traffic, but
because traffic's chaos.
I mean, there's disrupting, and that kind of thing, which is also a mentality and a pattern of, you might have a personality. It's like, I can't work I get told what I'm doing every day. I come in, I'm like a robot, and go home. Like, you have people who just cannot thrive in that situation, because that's how they're wired to their core. And that's why I keep saying, I'm using altitude and I'm using core, like centered up on the person with all their complexities, and the fact that they still have to adult. Like, I'm not a patient person, but if I go into a place and I see somebody is like really going slow, but it's not their fault, I'm not going to take it out on that person. Now, I might be questioning, why aren't there more, tellers or people at the registers or whatever, like that.
Like being
that's
at
where
Home
my
Depot.
head goes.
Yeah. Got it.
Not that individual, person who's busting their ass to keep up. So that's why I keep saying, like, I actually really like this quote.
I think what he's saying, Haas, is we're dumb because we're at 1,000 feet trying to view the landscape, and he's at 30,000. He sees more of it than we do. That's what I'm taking away from
It's funny
that.
because I actually can't see it reversed. I see like he's too close into the situation to understand where we're coming from at a 40,000 foot view.
So I do want to ask Mac.
I'm the man who talked about going down on somebody in a sandwich.
That's right. It's a hell of a connection.
But no, there's a difference between eating a
both.
Sandwich and making a sandwich.
Okay. So Grinch, let me ask you a question. I'm gonna cast my memory back to 2009, and we were on the metro, and somebody got out of line, and you dealt with them in a very specific way.
Yeah.
Do you think
some might say non-characteristic way.
Do you think if we now fast forward nearly 14 years, do you still handle people that same way, or have you adjusted your thinking?
I'm just mad I didn't beat the shit out of both of them, honestly. and again, like, I typically don't get mad and I'm not confrontational, but in that moment, you had two young men who were so loud, everybody in that train car could hear them.
And they
And
were
they
asked.
kept hitting the back of the seat with, I think it was an older gentleman that was
It was an
sitting in
older
front of
gentleman.
them.
Right.
And I knew he wasn't going to stand up for himself. So I was like, fuck it. I just had enough.
But they were, so based on what you said, were they disrupting the system?
Yes.
Okay.
No
And that-
respect. Like respect is probably
Right.
another core value of respect the environment. Like you said, read the fucking room. You know, like
Right.
nobody on that train car was comfortable. You could feel the tension. And they didn't give a shit. And that just set me off.
And you thought the tension's about here. I'm going to bring it up to here
Yes.
because it got fucking tense.
Because if he's going to do something, he's going to do it 100%.
100%.
So we're not going to have this little bullshit tension. We're going to
Yet he has showed up on this show with a beer because he didn't put in 100%.
Hey, I'm a blue collar man.
This is where almost.
But you don't know what it took for him to get that beer. Maybe that was 100%. In order for him to get that beer.
Okay, well, let's take
You're
you.
assuming that he didn't put in a lot of work to get that beer.
Okay, you're in the same camp as Grinch, so I'm going to ask you. You made a Kentucky Buck. What's in a Kentucky Buck, Mac?
It is ginger beer
Mhm.
and bourbon
And bourbon and ice in a cup.
and ice
Okay,
in a copper cup.
what's in a mojito?
That is rum, mint,
And simple
club
syrup.
soda, and simple syrup.
Right? So one extra ingredient and you have to muddle mint. So why didn't you spend the extra time and just make your mojito, which you
Because
wanted to
I
do?
respected your time enough to
No,
say
you didn't, or you'd have been
I
here at 1
can't-
o'clock.
That's an asshole move. See? Patterns.
set up.
Asshole, but factual.
Look. I think at the end, and we joke.
No. Hold on. In my defense, I did post out and tease out, can we push? I could have easily joined remotely and taken this call, but I felt like that would be doing a disservice to Haas because I know how he feels about that.
I think if you go back
So-
and look at the text message, actually, I'm the one that put out pushing.
Well,
for
after
Monday,
I
but
called you
you did
and
out of
expressed,
respect,
because I was not wanting to text and drive
right?
and disrupt the system.
Okay. All I'm saying is
But you're wrong.
you don't approach everything the same way. Now, and again, if we go back and we look at the
Ooh.
quote and we say how you approach some things or how you approach anything is how you will approach most things, I could see. But I think the way it hits me, it feels like it is just across the board. This is what we're saying, and
Well, but
clearly
I thought
that is
I
you're
thought
not.
it
reading
just
it as
genuine.
being truly black and white, and nothing's black and white.
No, of course.
That's
This
right.
is so insightful, though. By both your personalities,
Yeah.
you don't like the absoluteness of it.
I think
I find
no,
him disingenuine, almost rude even.
I know we joke about.
So
I know we
I have
joke
a-
about me being
I'm
an asshole.
laughing because it's just an
But you're
unexpected
not.
word.
We're
Right,
just-
but at the
because
end of
I-
the day, I think I am the most low-key motherfucker you guys, I won't say that you all know, but in
I mean,
this
you
group,
can be given certain instances,
I am very low-key in terms of
and
my
you
approach
become
to things
extremely not low key. Yeah.
when the time calls for it. You're right.
Sure.
And that's
Yeah.
what my
let
wife's-
somebody slap you in the face and see how low
Uh-huh.
you are.
Let someone like
somebody got
try
mail money
or
Better have mail
say
money.
or pretend they're going to slap you in the face and see what
Well,
happens.
And
Woof.
again, it's one of those things where you go, for me, every situation is not the same because my wife will tell me like, you never get upset. And I'm like, yeah. And you go from 0 to asshole like that. I'm just one of those people when you push and push.
She's
there's a
never
point.
played golf with you either. So
No, but there's a point at which
Maybe you need to eat that
you are
ass more than
you're
make
no longer
sandwiches.
gonna push me. I like my sandwiches.
Maybe if you liked eating ass better.
Well, I'm not even sure how ass even factors in. Grinch is like, you're
Grinch,
talking
I
about
hold
eating
you
pussy and making a-
100%
making a
accountable
sandwich.
for this, by the way. I don't know how this happened.
Look,
You tried to do something good.
yes,
So I have a question, and I don't know that this really ties into it, but I kind of think it does. So, one of the things along this line of, is how many people in here make their bed when they get up in the morning? So, okay. So 3 of us, because I do it as well. And
but okay, that's
Dora,
not.
you
But
were the-
again, that's not a fair assessment. I'm the first one up, and my wife sleeps because she
So am
comes
I.
on to she
and I
comes
go
on
back
to work.
and make the bed up. But that's not, no, I didn't always do that. But I can tell you on the days that I don't make the bed, and this could be completely, I don't feel like I'm as productive.
Are we
Because
tying
you
into
didn't
the
make the
Admiral
bed?
McCraven speech about start your day off with making your bed?
Kind of it's similar to that, right? But it kind of ties into this in that, you
Come
know,
on, bro.
if you do that one thing right, it can set up the rest of your day to be more productive.
Nah, because I didn't make my bed today on purpose to see if my wife would, and I got a lot of drinking done. I was very, very productive.
So you were very productive.
But see,
Very
there's a
productive.
personality like
But
little
that's a
kernel
yeah.
in there that led to that decision.
You were there's
You
a pretty
have the
good chance
power
you
to
were
override.
gonna drink a lot today, whether you made the bet or not.
No, that's true. That's true.
I mean,
But let me ask you this.
what's I do?
Yeah, you were.
So to counter the direction you were going with Matt, do you not think we can draw out personality traits simply by what drink we brought to the table today?
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
you
so.
can draw out personality traits by the drink we bring to the table.
Oh, please
Yeah.
say
I-
yes.
You
because
go all
don't-
I
in.
want to. I want to
You
go
all
down this
in,
rabbit
right?
hole because this
I
is going to be a
don't
fun little
think,
rabbit hole.
and again, as Max said, it is not black and white. I do not think every time no, because there are times you'll drink a beer, and then there are times you will drink a
Like
very
twice
elaborate.
total over.
No, but
3
that's what I'm
fucking
saying.
years.
But there are
But on the
times.
flip side, how much work, depending on what kind of beer that was, he may have put a lot of work into that beer if it was a Southern Pines
No,
beer.
no.
I really
no,
didn't. I really
no,
didn't. Max,
I was
absolutely
you
not.
trying.
bail on that. I know.
I love the wife swap
Yeah,
shit. We got
your
going
approach
on
to
here today. This
honesty
is
in all
great.
things, okay? Because he could have been like, "Yeah, actually, I did. I thought
All
a
right,
lot about
Grinch.
those beers."
Just to further piss on your parade because I can't help myself tonight. This is really, truly what my Diplomatica Reserva looks like. That's really because I've had so much alcohol today.
He didn't need a compound.
I
with
could
compounding.
not. I could not drink more booze. So that's really what this is. But yeah. So no.
You did not
No.
do everything.
How we do one
100%.
thing is not how we do everything.
No. You
Because
it's
told
still
us
one
you have a
ingredient on an ice
philosophy behind wanting to do one ingredient because you were like, I'm not getting paid to make all these drinks.
Right.
Whereas like early on, you were doing the cock and balls.
I was.
Looking stuff
You,
up.
you were
I
you were
was.
going down the
That's true.
Boulevardier.
That's
broken
true.
beans.
Absolutely. Until I kept getting fucking burned. And then I realized that just putting really quality booze over an ice cube was better than mixing a bunch of bullshit together and some industry telling
Was
me
it,
that
though?
all these ingredients made some great, fabulous thing when all I needed was the base sum for pleasure. That's all I needed. I didn't
I'm not
need
judging.
more.
I'm just teasing out the thinking behind it, which was you decided you liked going with a pure alcohol or one ingredient with a cube or something like that.
For the most part, I mean, I still like the occasional like drink with a couple few ingredients. I think the more complicated you get, I think the more asinine it gets. But yes, I think
So then,
at the base root, that's probably true. But that's
Thor,
not all things. That's one thing.
But
We
Thor
watched-
has never mailed it in on a drink.
no.
In
Huh?
fact,
We've
he is far
watched.
and above all the rest of us.
We have
Yeah, that might be
watched that.
true.
We
That
have
might be
watched the
true.
video I created on YouTube about how we all make a drink. Do you think that approach to drink making is accurate? Because that was 100% me taking, based on what you're saying, taking the
Mhm.
criteria that I know of you guys from what us doing this. Do you think that was accurate?
Yes, I thought.
Yeah,
it was great.
I think
Alright.
100%.
It's funny to look in the mirror sometimes. 'Cause
I mean,
especially when
it's-
people pounce on things that you kind of like knowingly block, and you're like, oh,
You're like, that's not me.
that's-
Well,
It
wait,
was-
that's kind of me.
it was a bit of a tiny pill to swallow, but the truth of the matter is I watched it with Mrs. Haas, and she was just the entire time laughing her ass off, going,
Mhm.
That's totally
"Yep,
you.
mhm."
She,
Yep.
she was also thinking, that's a good looking hoss right there.
Yeah, I mean, minus the Florida T-shirt. Yeah,
I wasn't wearing a Florida
But,
T-shirt with
like
yours. It was
me-
a South Carolina.
as is typical of me, I'm like all over the map. Sometimes I really get there.
do you
Other
feel like
times I'm
that's you as a person?
Oh yeah,
all over the map?
Yeah, I mean, because part of it is I don't devote a lot of time to thinking about shit ahead of time. I'm not a planner,
You know,
and I'll end up at Saturday going, "Fuck, ABC's not open tomorrow."
I got to go out.
I'd
now.
really thought like around Wednesday when I may have looked at a drink that I was going to go get the ingredients. I fucked that up, so now I got to pivot. Because I don't plan for shit. I don't. There's a reason, we get along because she is a planner, and I'm in the moment. And I think that's another trait people have. Some are very, detailed planners. When we get on the ground, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And again, personalities can be in play. And I'll use a funny example of like when we were getting together back for the Tool concert, and it's like Well, what are you guys gonna do? I don't know.
What we
it's
do.
well, what are you
Yeah,
going to eat?
We're gonna hang out. We're gonna
When we
drink,
get hungry, we'll figure out what we're going to eat.
Right.
We don't need to plan ahead of time. We're big boys. If we need to go to the grocery store and buy groceries, we'll go to the grocery store and buy groceries when we're hungry. If we don't do that, we'll go
Yep.
or we'll Uber it.
We'll
right?
go to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
But-
because
yeah,
it's the
but-
greatest
but-
Chick-fil-A
or pie
chicken
pies.
place in the world.
when we
Yeah,
coalesce, we kind of we sort of create like a group personality.
It's a group thing
that we've
at
learned
that
for
point,
years,
right?
right?
Yeah.
But you take somebody else in, and they're just like, "Whoa, well, what time do I need to be up?" I'm like, I don't fucking care. Well, I mean, are we making breakfast? I don't know.
Okay, so let me ask
We'll
a
make
question.
breakfast when breakfast time gets there.
I mean, we are way the fuck off topic.
No,
wildly
it's all.
off,
It's
but-
still in the same theme, though.
It is,
Right.
but let me ask this question: when we get together, that group think that suddenly takes over, does it bother anybody? Like, does it bother? Like, are any of you like, when I get up, I want to have breakfast, I want to have coffee, I want to do X, Y, Z, and then when we get together, it's like, we'll get there when we get there. Does it bother any of you when
Yeah.
that group think takes over?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
No,
I was just curious.
The only thing I'll say, and this is where it's a give and take between the group and individual, is yes, when you are on your own schedule sometimes and you start getting hungry and like nobody's mentioned food and you're kind of like, so
Well, you just
Hey,
go.
but-
what you
and
did
all
is
of
you're
a
like,
And
I
then all of a
just
sudden
ordered
the Uber
barbecue,
driver
by the
shows
way.
up, and you're like, Chris is like, "Oh, guys, I ordered,
I
a
ordered-
bunch of food."
Yeah,
By the
you
way, I
gotta
ordered
leave
a
the
herd.
I ordered
You gotta leave the
$1,000
herd.
worth of barbecue. I hope
gotta
you
leave
eat
the
it all,
herd.
you fuckers.
Right. There is that individual. That is that individual mindset that will take over in those situations, because you have done that, Grinch. You're like, I ordered food. And it's like, okay. I mean, that's cool. You were hungry. I didn't know you were hungry. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'll use another funny example. I don't like when we play like Warzone. I don't like having the mic on, talking to people. I don't like even meeting new people, even though we've had some really good experiences. Haas is an extrovert. You've probably got 10 times the friends I have just
Online.
because you're an outgoing person, you're engaged and an extrovert. And I'm
But
over here like,
you'll appreciate this. I met a random dude at a side, like outside of an old bank,
where's
now
this
grocery
going?
store cafe yesterday, who was really tatted up. And I commented him on the great tattoo work he had. And he introduced me to 3 amazing tattoo artists here in the city. And now he and I are friends and we're talking about hanging out.
Because they eat ass.
and
It's crazy. The
And we like
similarities.
tattoos.
I mean,
you
Just
could
not
pull
each
that
other's.
off.
I hope.
I'd be like the guy that's just over there quietly going,
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I don't like talking to. Yeah, I'm kind of like you, Grinch. And I find it funny because I feel like I would be more in place, like up in the Northeast, right? You don't fucking talk to people in the street. You don't say hi, and that shit happens in the South. And I'm just like, nah, don't fucking talk to me. I don't need to talk to you. If I want to talk to you, I'll engage you. Leave me the fuck alone.
hold
like I
on a
said,
sec.
I know we're drifting around, but
We are.
this
I
is
wanna
all
get back.
related to the core principle of the quote. I think
I agree.
is that you can find patterns in the bigger picture that resonate to the smaller things, and
Okay,
vice versa.
So the question was, can how we make our drinks inform some things about the individual? Okay. So what does it inform you about me and in my approach to making drinks?
Well, you started the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You are a bit of a foodie.
Mm-hmm.
You take your shit seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and you put the time and work in. I mean, no pre-made mix.
Yeah.
You're heading out there with Juan Valdez to like pick coffee beans and find oranges that are laying on the
Say it.
ground. And you've got a whole
Any-
vineyard and whatever else. I don't know how many fruit trees you must have in your yard. at this
Pretentious.
point.
I'll say it.
Oh,
No,
there it is.
There it is.
I wouldn't say-
I'll say it.
I wouldn't say pretentious. I would say that he feels like anything worth doing is worth doing well. And it's worth doing well the first time. Because time is
But do you say?
finite.
But okay. So
Okay.
would you say that is a true statement, Thor, about you with everything?
No. Look, the way I approach making my drink is sure as shit not the way I approach cleaning my house. Because I'm like, fuck, got work.
You just,
gotta
you just
clean.
want to get it
But
done,
then,
right?
so then does it become
Which is
a-
the same thing, right? The way you eat ass is not the same way you freaking make and eat a sandwich, is it?
We're talking about cleaning my house. I don't even know how that
Why do we keep
relates.
coming?
I'm
back
just
to-
saying
What's
they're
going
great.
on at the Haas household tonight?
They're
That's
great.
what I want to know. I think we already know. Never mind. I
Your
don't
wife,
wanna
your
know.
wife right now is like, if you clean the way you ate my ass, Haas, this house would
This
be
house would be
fucking
Hey, bro,
spotless.
bro,
sparkling.
you don't even know. You don't even know.
She's like, you know what? Lick the
And
house
Grinch
clean.
has left. He's like, I can't handle this anymore.
Look,
all day,
if you
all day long, I was thinking about how can I phrase this.
if you approached TSA feet the way you approached eating ass,
Nope,
it
very
would
different.
change your
Very different.
world.
Very different. It's one piece of freaking clean ass.
Would it though?
Versus, you know how many people be walking through
He
there
went
in
and
them
got a
nasty
beer.
feet,
That's what he
freaking
got a beer.
Ooh.
so fancy.
So was the drink not doing
Fancy.
it for it?
That
Was the
was- that
drink
was-
not doing it for you?
Fancy Grinch beer.
Or did he finish the drink?
I finished it. Yeah.
Okay, well,
It was so
that's
good,
what
I
How
you,
didn't
he
want
does
another.
one thing is how he does everything.
that's what
If
you
he's going
say
to go,
about me.
if he's going to go all in, he's going to finish that drink and move on.
That's what you say about me. Now, Grinch, if I had to look at you and go, okay, let me look back at how you've made your drinks. I think there's just wild inconsistencies in some of your approaches. Sometimes
But
you
Just
do make
quite
elaborate
frankly,
drinks.
You
You need
make
to-
more
you need to
elaborate
look
drinks
back.
than Thor does. And in fact, you've made drinks where I was like, oh my God.
his
Just
wife,
hearing you
His
describe
wife.
it.
makes
wife
more
is
elaborate
made.
drinks
No, no,
than
no, no,
Thor.
no. She's only done that like a handful.
look, he sees is like, no, come on, man. I do
The
my
way
drinks.
your wife makes drinks and then the way you describe those drinks makes me it makes me salivate sometimes. Truly.
Now, I will
the
say,
end
if
of
the
the day,
question was,
the-
is the way you drink a drink inform some things about you? Sure, absolutely.
Yes. The keister, or what is it, cornerstone
keister.
of it, the keister of my cornerstone is practicality. When time permits and I actually get my shit together, I try and get on board. And I also try to get on board out of support for you to make sure we're adding
I appreciate that
drinks into
because
the menu.
you and I have been gaming on a Wednesday, and you're like, I know exactly what drink I'm doing. I'm so excited, right? And we're
Mhm.
like days out. And then there are times, like I said, where you'll show up and you're like, oh, it's Jack and Coke.
Well,
Having
I guess the
water.
question is, how many times has that drink on Wednesday been what he actually brings to the episode?
It's been a couple times, yeah, because he does
Right.
get excited about those drinks. Now, of course, you do have to discount things like when Fancy Ace and Diana came on
Life
and made that
happens.
drink for us. Well,
Yeah.
when they made that drink for us, right, that was very specific. We didn't, they were doing something. So that doesn't count because that was an elaborate drink. But
Hey,
Yeah.
spite's a factor. Spite's a factor. Don't discount spite because
Right.
when in doubt,
So-
I'm gonna show up.
It's a hell of a motivation, huh, buddy?
I also like little subtle dig humor, or really
Yeah.
like the humor ties in. Yeah.
so let me ask you a question. Back when we were picking drinks for each other, was it ever a situation when somebody picked a drink and you're like, fuck, I would never
Like-
make that. I would never
Like
drink
if somebody
that. That's
sent
not my
out,
thing.
like a one-hit wonder drink and said, let's all make this.
Let's all do this. This is awesome. Look, that just showcases your team player ability.
Right.
That's all
There you
that
go.
is. That's all that is.
Sure.
Either way, look.
That's like go fuck.
Motherfucker.
Right.
The worst part is now I have all that Jägermeister and shit, so I got to make it again.
You fucking drink something with it.
Or just drink shots of Jaeger, bro. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask a question.
No.
Grinch, you sent out the Simon Hodges article off his
Yes.
website about
Yeah.
kind of related to this quote. And he talks about this quote. His quote has stuck with me throughout my life and deeply resonated the first time I heard it about 10 years ago. Well, right there, I'm like, your entire life it's resonated with you, but you only heard it 10 years ago. So that's not your whole fucking life. It's
not to
one of
mention
those,
that's awfully short-sighted or narrow-sighted of you as a person to
It's
have
one-
one quote dictate or
define your
narrate your life. Yeah.
it's one of those phrases which immediately demands deeper reflection because it's at once open to numerous interpretations. Fine. And then he says, before reading any further, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. The first being, how did hearing that make you feel? How you do anything is how you do everything. So how did it make you all feel? Haas, I think I know how it made you feel. You don't agree. You reject it out of
Inconsistent and inaccurate.
Grinch. It sounds like you're like, I can totally get behind that. Maybe even as a way to kind of pattern your thinking.
Well, I mean, I'm also very, I don't want to, I'm a very inward looking person, which is probably why I honed in on. we're our own worst critics, right? And I think I'm really good at being my own critic, and I don't. That obviously, I'm implying the opposite of it being a good thing to be the worst critic, because I can probably remember shit from years ago that I'm like, I was such a fucking idiot. um, I want to pile on to what you're saying though, and add another part of that same article. How you do anything is how you do everything is like a mirror. If you don't like what this is, hence my drink, smoking mirrors. If you don't like what it means to you, in my experience, this is because it's showing you what you don't like about yourself and therefore giving you an opportunity to do something about it. It's the same principle that I apply to relationships and how you judge others. Anyway, like I said, I had never heard this quote in my life until just recently. And it just kept hanging in there. And then as I thought about it, and then as I was observing others, I'm like, yeah, you can see a person's personality like as a thread through everything they do. Now it may bob and weave, because like I said, I mean, well, let me reflect back on the conversation with the missus that we had, which was, we're different personalities, but we get along. And that's because the dynamic changed, and so there's a give and take there that you begin to develop. I mean, if I wanted to rigidly be the way I always am or were, I don't think we'd still be married. You know what I mean? Like that's part of growth. And so that's why I say at the core of it, I still connect with it. And I think it's what it's suggesting is there's an opportunity there to affect change in a broader sense by working small to large. Because changing large is really hard, of like, I'm just going to wholesale now be an extrovert. Like it just wouldn't work.
If
I'd be
only.
uncomfortable and miserable, But I mean, there's some other versions of this, like like what was it, like start saying yes to things, I think was like a thing for a little while of, you get asked to go out, like do it, get out of your comfort zone. And then sometimes it works out and other times you're just like, well, this is fucking miserable. I'd really rather be back at the house.
Right.
Hey, Grinch, I want you to eat ass tonight. Just say yes. Get out of your comfort zone.
Oh, I like where your head's at.
Okay.
Hey,
I don't. I think it's a horrible thing. I completely disagree with that. Getting out of your comfort zone.
Where's that
I'm
nose
It's called
right
a comfort
now?
zone for a reason.
I'm not
Right, you're
I'm also not going to start liking squirters. It's not happening.
It's
I'm
not
telling you,
happening.
bro,
So
dude, I'm telling you, you're missing. Oh my God.
I'm
There's
going to bring up a
nothing better
very
than a quality
specific
squirter.
example.
You can't miss
Nothing
it
better
if you
than a
don't
quality
know about
squirter,
it.
bro.
Look, I want to bring up a very specific.
You can just leave it right there. You need him.
I need him. Look, okay, so
I
I'm
need
going to
that
bring up
fan
a
on
very
right now is
specific
what I need.
example about this. And Grinch, and I know you've been doing a lot of talking, but you are the one clearly, because of the way you're positioned right now, you're the one that has the biggest issue with this. You thought, looking to your left, that you understood the man sitting there until he came out and said John Wick 4 was a piece of shit movie. And you did. You admittedly were like,
yeah, it was like
surprised.
listening to a symphony, and all of a sudden it's like, and like horns crash over. Somebody throws the freaking.
So I'm just saying,
across.
you look at the situation, and you just said it. You can see how that thread is tied in everything they do. And then he threw a left-handed curve at you, and I say left-handed because he's left-handed. But so would
Way to
that
recover
not?
on that one.
Thank you. Would that not surprise you? Clearly it did, but
Oh no, I told you, it totally surprised me. I was actually like, there was a reason I didn't react in the moment, because I was just kind of like,
huh.
Did we see the same movie?
You're thinking,
Haas I know.
who stole Haas's phone?
Well,
But-
and interestingly, and to further add to that point, was there are a few people in this world who, when they say X is X and Y is Y and Z, I believe them. Carte blanche. I really legit carte blanche. I don't fucking blink. And when you were touting it, and I went and saw it, and I was just like, has he had a head injury that he's not disclosed to us? Because I don't think we saw the same film. Like,
you both thought the same thing, that the other
Yeah,
person
I mean-
wasn't watching the same thing.
and you could have bet me 100 times out of 100, and I would have always bet that I would have agreed with him on certain subject matters. And music and movies are two of those things. Like, we're not going to deviate from that because we all generally fall in the same stuff that we like. And we've talked about this in the past. It's one of the reasons why we've remained friends. So when I saw that, I was just like, I'm really perplexed.
Rethinking your entire life.
We've come to my ulterior motive, which is We're here to talk about John Wick.
John Wick 4.
Yeah. The important part is everybody needs
That
to go
was a
see
long
Cocaine.
setup, man.
Yeah, it
Everybody
was.
needs to go see Cocaine Man.
Fucking
Only took us
6
40
weeks-
minutes to get
6
there.
weeks of goddamn setup, and he felt like
All
going to drop it.
So are you going to say it, or were you waiting for me to?
You go ahead.
Okay. Do you know what movie this quote was in? John Wick 4.
John Wick 4.
Hence why I don't agree with it, apparently.
He's like, I even missed it in
It
the
is.
movie.
It is
one of the
when-
3 lines that Keanu had.
It is
Yeah.
when Winston is speaking with the Marquis, and the Marquis telling him he's taking down the Continental.
Spoiler
And
Hey,
what-
alert.
whoa, easy now. We
Whether or
haven't all
not
seen
he
the
should
movie.
stay in position. And the Marquis says to him, how we do anything is how we do everything, implying that he clearly showed he was willing to violate the rules and abandon the principles of the high table. So therefore there are consequences. That's where the
Right.
quote came from.
There you go. So back to this article, and one of the things it talks about, and here Simon Hodge is talking about when you are relaying truth. Do you speak the truth even when it feels uncomfortable? How many of you, no matter what that truth is, and no matter who you're talking to, you are 100% truthful and transparent in everything you? Okay, I'm getting some head shakes from
Nope.
2. Haas, what about
Nope.
How much alcohol have I had?
you? Okay, I mean that's a factor. But what I'm saying is, I think we don't. I think sometimes we shadow people from things not to hurt their feelings. We will omit things not to hurt feelings, or we don't want to disappoint. My mom is, I always thought I could trust you. And then I found out you lied to me. And I'm like, big fucking shocker. A teenager lying to their mother because you didn't want to disappoint, or you didn't want to, get in trouble. You didn't want to get fucking grounded. I mean, I think by and large, we do adjust our situation depending on the moment. And I think that's another reason I come back to. I don't feel like I agree with this statement completely, because no matter what it is. And then Simon Hodge goes on to talk about how you deal with people, how you deal with a bum, and how you deal with a CEO should be equal. They should be the same. Are they? Do you approach both of those situations identical?
Well, I would say,
No.
well, they use kind of like how you treat wait staff and unimportant people. quote
Right,
unquote.
right. People beneath you versus people
But
above
yes.
you.
But hold on, wait.
Which
Aren't
is
all
always
people
telling.
important?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, Haas, is you either have the mentality that they're all important, or you're of a mindset that hierarchy matters, and you're not afraid to be rude or speak down to someone. Like the thought of speaking down to someone in almost every instance is actually very unsettling.
There
Like,
should
I
be a
don't-
special place in hell for people like that, honestly, in my opinion.
it's
Right.
just one of those, like, I don't know how you can look at it's kind of like core racism and other things. Like, I don't know how you can look at another person and just treat them like shit. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some contextual clues that might be like, yeah, the dudes at whatever rally, I probably will hate every aspect of that person,
But you should take the time to get to know that person before you just make that judgment, I think.
Yeah, Grinch,
Yeah.
Not just
2009 on the Metro. You should have taken some
True,
time
fair
to get
enough.
to know him.
They're probably
Should have sat
they're probably
down,
great young men.
had
Yeah, you
some
should have
tea
just
together,
talked
and
instead
some
of
crumpets,
grabbing him and slamming against the
know.
window.
maybe discussed world
I told you.
policies.
The training just took over.
It did. It
I was
definitely
like Jason
did.
Bourne, a robot. Just I don't even really remember what happened. If I'm being
He
honest.
combat
happens.
rolled 3 rows and grabbed. Yeah, it was fucking crazy. Yeah, but in reading his article, I think it's almost like, from a motivational standpoint, he's trying to say, hey, do these things when you tell the truth, or when you're speaking truth to people. Let it be uncomfortable, even to yourself. Okay, I can look at myself, Haas, you've even said this. I look at myself in the mirror and I go, I'm fucking fat. And your wife's like, don't treat yourself that way. And you're like, I have to. It's my motivational tool. Right? And that is speaking your truth to you
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, right? But I don't think you turn around and look at someone and go, you're fucking fat. You're not going to say that to somebody else necessarily. Are you?
No.
I
No,
don't-
right? But
no,
you're
no.
comfortable enough saying it to yourself, even necessarily if you don't believe it, because you know that's your motivational tool to get you to keep going.
Yep.
I'm not where I need to be. I'm still a
Yep.
fat fuck.
Yep.
However you need to do it. But you aren't
Right.
going to turn to the person next to you who you're married to and you love, and you're going, yeah, you're fat, because you want them to work out with you. You're not going to do that.
Nope.
Even if you
Because-
don't believe it, you're not going to say it as a
Well,
motivational tool for them.
Yeah, because their journey is not my journey,
Right.
and their happiness is. It's not my happiness, and it's not my responsibility.
Well, that was a quote I once heard, is you can't make other people happy.
You can't.
You know,
You
they
can
have to.
enhance their happiness, but you can't give them the base foundation from which
So
they.
you're like seasoning on a steak. You can enhance the flavor,
100%, dude.
but you can't create the flavor.
That's right. I can't create that ass, but I can
Just
eat it. And I can eat it passionately.
Put a little A1 steak sauce on that steak.
I'm
I
muting
will-
you. I am
I will
muting
say,
you.
I did that one time in your house,
Ketchup.
and I will never
Ketchup.
do it again.
I will say, I think
Hold
it
on, wait,
is
hold on.
more.
I gotta back up for a second. I apologize. Do you have an aversion to A1 steak sauce?
On a steak, if it's
steak.
cooked right, fuck yeah, you shouldn't eat anything.
And
Well, I
he gets
mean,
that-
hold on,
and he
stop,
gets
stop,
that
stop, stop.
from his dad, by the way.
Preach.
That's where
100%.
that's where I
Preach.
heard
I
it.
gotta ask because
Yas, queen.
did he try the steak first before putting said steak sauce on?
I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember. If
It's
he did
been
or
so
not.
long ago.
Because that's where I would agree with that statement up to a point. If someone tries something first and they don't care for the way that it was prepared, and
Well, I
then
think
they
that's
want to-
almost worse because then that's a
and
slap
then
in the face to
no, I
To
disagree.
whoever
to the person
prepared the
who cooked that
steak,
steak.
right?
Take a
No,
bite and
because
start
if you
looking around
invite
for
me over
condiments.
for steak, if you invite me over for steak and I say I want it prepared a certain way and you prepare it that way, and I still want to enhance my meal that you've invited me over for, that should be at my discretion, not yours.
You're absolutely right.
But see, I look back at that now though and think I should have just been grateful that, you know what, somebody was nice enough to prepare a steak for me. I should have never questioned the way in which that steak was
Yeah, we
prepared.
disagree
Right.
because you know what? If
Mm.
that's a problem for you, then I'll just stay home and eat my own goddamn
Do
steak,
you
and you
not
don't have to
hear-
invite me over.
All these personality traits coming
It's
out.
just
though.
coming out. It's like
It's just-
somebody knocked the dam down.
There's a
Here
lot
they come.
to unpack in a simple steak experience.
Do I even like you guys anymore? I don't even know.
Well,
well,
I also worked at a steakhouse in the same one you did. So
Yeah.
probably prior to that, I wasn't as adamant about if it's cooked right and it's done well. You don't need shit.
So
You know,
let's put a pause on I worked in a steakhouse. Okay.
Well,
it's literally in the name.
Restaurant
Yeah.
that serves steak.
At the end of
It's
the day,
literally
th-
called
the
a
difference
steakhouse.
here, okay?
this is what I was going to say. When you're talking about talking down to people, talking down to wait staff, we've all been in the restaurant business. And I'm sure there are people out there that have never set foot in a kitchen or waited tables or, you know, worked behind a bar. And so there is a level of entitlement and they think, well, I'm the customer.
I'm
and
paying
you're
you. I'm always right. You know,
And it's,
it just annoys the shit out of me when people do that.
yes. Because
Because I
even
think it goes back to how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if I look at somebody and I look at the way they're treating that person and the waitstaff, I'm going to, right or wrong, assume that you're a pompous asshole, and that's probably how you treat everybody.
but again,
I
Grinch
would
knows
even
this.
I would even say if you sat in a Starbucks and watched, like you were in a position where you could hear everybody's orders, I
Half
bet
crap,
you
half
you
crap,
could
decaf,
identify
this
traits of
bullshit.
that person
Yeah.
simply by their coffee order.
Oh, absolutely. I would agree with that statement.
Well,
Is this a
Grinch, you and-
conversation you've had with the missus?
Oh,
this
I
is-
hear stories all the time.
Yeah.
People that come in, yes.
Well, Grinch, you and I had this conversation just the other day with my wife and her work and her boss and the approach. I don't know her boss personally, never met her. She may be a lovely person. I couldn't tell you. I just know in terms of how she treats the work and her employees, in my opinion, she's a piece of shit. But you may meet them in the real world and go, okay, that's nothing like what I thought
Well,
you'd be.
Yeah, she could be at
there's-
home with 5 cats and 3 dogs, and they could be like the most amazing creatures with the most love given to them ever.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a fine line though. You can, because I've worked with a lot of people that I'm like, I really enjoy spending time with you outside of work, but you are a piece of shit worker. I do not want to work with you because you're lazy, you're incompetent, and you don't know what you're doing.
Man,
Right.
you don't
But
talk
I can
about
go
the
have
word
a
that
beer
way,
with
bro.
you.
Don't talk
What's
about
that?
the word that way.
I mean, look, it's
Don't-
been
don't.
30 plus years.
No, I don't even
so
want to go
I'm
have a
used
beer
to
with
it.
him.
I'm used to it.
So, see, Grinch, that would have been the perfect opportunity for you to get
I
up
thought
and walk
about it.
off.
I know, bro. I was thinking
Get up.
it. I was like, please
I,
get
I
up.
Let's
can
go
kind
around
of see it in
again.
your eyes, like,
Please.
like he's thinking.
I was
about
on the
it.
fence. Yeah, I was on the
Yeah, when
I was
Haas left,
dying.
I texted Mac and I said, when Haas gets back, you leave.
And that's what I was telling you. I said it worked out even better because I was kind of mid sentence. He just dropped and walked.
Does anybody remember where we were?
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
I don't either. I know I was talking about Simon Hodges. We were talking about truth,
Mhm.
how you deal with people. Oh, and that we've all worked in the restaurant business.
Yes.
How you treat people is telling. Yes.
Yeah. And I definitely think how you treat people is 100% telling about your character traits, but I don't necessarily think that informs that's how you approach all things.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're an
think-
I
hour
think it
on.
can. I
think
mean,
We're
it
an
can.
hour on, and you haven't changed my position in terms of this quote. I still think it's situational. I said something to my daughters, and they're like, "Oh, well, people that apply efforts tend to apply the same effort to everything they do." And I think this goes
Disagree.
back.
That's my whole eating ass making a sandwich point. You don't. You just don't. You don't
Well-
have the same passion. You don't have the same attention.
that's true.
You
I
don't
make
have
the
the
hell
same
out of a
effort.
sandwich.
Dagwood makes a
And
hell
I'm
of a
telling you, bro,
sandwich.
you got that shit backwards, homie. You got it
I don't think
backwards.
I don't think that I do. I really
You
don't.
get a quality piece of ass. I'm not-
It can't
That was
be
good, Mac. That
it
timing was
cannot be-
good.
it's
It
not as
cannot beat a turkey sandwich. I'm sorry.
You lost
And
me
it can
at
be-
turkey.
it
You
can
had
be
me
just
at hello,
turkey.
and you lost me at turkey.
Okay, fine, chicken, whatever the hell you want.
No,
if you said
fucking chicken?
if you said Cuban or pastrami, on
Corned beef or
rye,
pastrami,
yeah.
right? On a
Yeah.
seeded rye bread.
And you ever
Jewish
hear
rye.
like fucking turkey? I'm gonna have a turkey and mayo,
My point being, you can have a plain basic sandwich.
bro. We
It's
gotta.
still better than
I
eating
need to get
ass.
you over here for a couple months. We need to
No,
have some
no, you don't.
conversations and work some shit out. Yeah, we do.
I feel like the
I feel like
time we
I can
spent-
say it now. Grinch, you have let the train go off the tracks. You need to get
Oh,
this under
I'm
control.
over there putting track down, looking at you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
out
Just
yeah.
there.
letting it happen.
I'm
You're
a
like,
little
like,
worried
He
now
knew, he
though,
knew
that
where
the-
this was going when he presented the topic 4 days ago.
that the time we spent rooming, I may have been violated now. I'm a little worried.
I just,
Violated.
I just,
Cared
as is always, we just get in the
didn't
room
say
and the
no.
magic happens.
It does.
The
Okay,
magic-
so I
the
want to
magic
ask
just
a
happens.
question. I'm going to go back to Simon Hodges' article. For each of you, I'm going to start with you, Haas. Do you like where you are in life right now? And 0 out of 10, how would you score it?
Can I back up
Yes,
on that question?
you can.
Who read the article prior to coming?
I mean, I skimmed it. I didn't read the whole
How
thing.
I do
2
how
times.
I do one
2 times.
thing is how I do everything. Grinch, I don't prepare for any of these.
He said,
Did
I
you
said
think
what I
was gonna
said, and I
prepare
did
for
what I
yours?
did.
So you would have been disappointed had I read the article before
How
I
many
showed
people know what the reference "the boy" is? And if you don't know, it's because I'm making a point. There was posted twice in the text string, and still only 2 of us have seen it.
up. Nobody commented about the comedian I sent out. So
Which comedian?
That was out of
in the
spite. I
Navy
told you,
SEAls.
spite.
yeah,
Except
But I
I'm the
respect
one
you
that
for
sent
that,
that
though.
out first.
no, you didn't.
Go back and scroll through your text.
I don't have that kind of time.
Exactly. I sent it out first. Look, Grinch and I were just joking about this yesterday. He loves when you repost things that he's like, I just posted it like a week ago, and he's reposting it. So then I repost it for him to repost it.
Because we're on the same feed. Our Mincies are synced up now.
Yeah.
So
you're on the same server within the matrix.
That's it.
that's right.
It's all a simulation anyway.
That's
So
right.
Haas,
Yeah.
how would you score your life out of 10?
7 to 8, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay. Mac, what about you?
What I understand the numbers, but what, like, happiness with life, or what's the scale?
Uh,
I don't remember the leading question.
Yeah.
Okay. It just says I'd like to end my session with a few questions to reflect on what we've talked
Okay.
about, but also look ahead to the changes you're going to implement. Because he's a motivational speaker. That's what he does. And that's what I think in part this article is trying to get people to do, is look at their life in a more critical way. And so it's a 2-pronged question. A, how would you score your life? And the follow-up is, what would you need to change in your life to make your score a 10? So Haas, you're
Gotcha.
saying 7 to 8. Mac, what about
Mhm.
you?
I'm thinking about an 8.
Okay. Grinch?
Yeah. I'm reading the questions now, and I'm seeing a couple that were right before it, and the one that you obviously pulled from earlier. Yeah, I mean, I think an 8's about right.
Okay. So let's go back to my
Now,
earlier. Do
here's
you
what I will
speak
say,
the
though.
truth even when it's uncomfortable?
No.
No, but I'm saying to yourself. So I'm reiterating
Oh,
that to then
yes.
go back and go,
Yes.
is your life really a 7 or an 8?
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I'm hyper self-critical about things I know I could have done better.
Right.
And a lot of it comes down to things we've touched on, which is, did I think the return on investment of that energy was worth it at the time? Now, I may have gotten that judgment wrong, but I made the call. And so, a lot like, Haas, we've talked about this. When we're in the DMZ and we lose a firefight, I start unpacking what went wrong and what we could have done better. So I'll do that with some other things, um, but I think I'm very grounded in a practicality. So usually baselines, like the water rocks around a little bit, and then it's like, well, here's that nugget I want to take away from that, and then back to the quote, study the past, lest you be doomed to repeat it. Because I think there is another, like just above that, do you speak truth? He says, are there patterns in your life where you just keep repeating the same behavior time and again, and then wondering why this happens? So that's like, I try to bring it back home of that, like, did I read the details wrong? Did I actually dig into that issue as much as maybe I should have, or did I get it right? And I like to think more often than not I am right. Which interestingly, if you ever apply to Amazon and they describe employees, there's literally a characteristic of an Amazon employee that says, are you right more often than you're wrong? Or something, are you usually right? Meaning, do you use your judgment, assessment, what you're picking up on to make the right call? Now, obviously, this is more kind of a ship oriented thing, but that's how I kind of swirl it back in and then try to be better. And Haas, you've said this, be better tomorrow than you are today. Like, that's still where I want to keep the trajectory.
Right.
So I know there's things that I fuck up. I think about them in the shower and that kind of stuff, but hopefully I'm still trending positive.
All right. So we got two 7 to 8s. Grinch, what are you? Same?
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah.
And I think if I look at it critically and I'm honest with myself, I'm probably around a 5. Now, if you say, well, how are you in your marriage, your
Well, that
relationship?
concerns me, though.
Well, hold on.
Me too, actually.
Hold on. If you go, how are you in your marriage? Okay, I'm a 10. How are you with your kids?
Because you read
Okay,
ads.
well, I got 2 kids at home that haven't moved on, and they're in their mid-20s. I got another one who's above that, who is stagnant. And again, this is your life.
But that's
and there's
not
a
you. That's them.
No, but as a parent, I think we all can agree. As a parent, it is, you take that on yourself. You go,
Fair
what
play.
did I do wrong? Where did
Yep.
I drop the ball that my
I mean,
kids...
it's a 50-50 equation, but I get your point.
Yeah, because I mean, at 19,
Are they in jail? Are they stripping?
No,
are
they're
they
alive
pregnant?
and
Are
they're
they
doing
on
well,
drugs?
But
but again, you go,
Are they eating ass for money?
I'm at 19. I had a kid. I had a job. I was working my ass off. By the time I was 22, I had 2 kids, 2 jobs. And I look at my kids going, okay, well, you're in your mid to late 20s, and where are you guys?
Step your game up, right?
But so if you're talking about your life, and so my life, 14 years, I was with a woman I shouldn't have been with. So that's part of my life. So I have to factor that in. And so I think we go, oh, well, I say 7 to 8, because if I go 5, will I offend my wife? No, it's my whole life. I didn't graduate high school on time because I fucked off. That put me behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, but bro, here's the way I see it. I don't think it's past. I think where you're at in
where
life
you're at now, right?
I
because
agree.
You can't change the past.
And
how part of
easier?
But think about this discussion.
You left.
The past is what has made you the person you are today to some extent.
100%, but you still have to account for that when you go, where are you? Well, let's see. I got a house that's half renovated. I'm living in a fucking state I can't stand. Like, all of those things factor in. And that's why I say I'm at a 5 right now in my life, because there are things I still need to accomplish, want to accomplish, places I want to get to, things I want to do. I'm not there yet. And so if I'm honest with myself, even if it's uncomfortable, I go, okay, probably a 5, maybe a 6. And that's not an indictment on anything going on in my life. It's just like, I got a lot of things that I'm still trying to accomplish. And if I were to go, I'm a 10.
Well,
no.
Nobody's going to be, nobody should be a 10, because nobody,
Right.
I mean,
then you have nothing to
there's
strive
always
for.
some room for improvement, right?
Right. I love my job right now, but tomorrow's a new day. I may be like, fucking, my job sucks. But I got a wife that hates her fucking job, and she's stuck in it because we're in the middle of remodeling this house and I can't get out of that. So she's stuck in a situation because, you go, well, okay, brass tacks, you need the money because you're trying to renovate your home, and you can't just give up that income, which would, you go, oh, because I've told her, just quit. I can't quit. We're trying to accomplish something. So that's why I say, for me, I'm thinking, like, if I'm honest, it's like a 5 or 6. And that's not an indictment on any one thing going on in my life. It's all of it together. And none of you need to be like, oh, I feel bad for you. No, I put myself here. I'm going through the things I'm going through. It'll get better. And that's why I'm always, like you said, always striving to be better tomorrow than I am today.
Well,
And
and I, I
and I
think,
don't look at it as a bad thing.
and I think, I mean, obviously, and I don't say this facetiously, we're touching on a lot of life coaching stuff. I mean, the whole quote is based in motivational speaking. And the irony is, I don't like motivational speaking. Like, I don't watch them. I don't seek them out. It's just not a thing. Like, as a personality trait, I don't want somebody speaking to me, telling me, even though I know it's probably true at times, right?
But on the flip
Like, if I
side, what
self-evaluate,
they're saying may not necessarily apply to you just because it applied to them.
well, my personality, I'm like, give me the information. I'll toss it around and figure out what I want to take from it. It's just, I don't want to be painted into a corner. And we've all talked about that mentally, whether it's religion and some other things. We don't like things that tell us how to think, which is why when you had your reaction to the quote, I didn't, I wasn't like offended by that, because I know by personality, the more rigid it is, the less likely it is to connect in that way. So it's almost like you have to break it down and then sort of bring it back into a position that you're more comfortable with. Like we said, maybe you just add most, right? Or a lot of, or big things or something.
On occasion.
Yeah, at the core, I still think there is a pattern end to end, and along that pattern is the journey of life, because you're aging, different life events are happening, different people are coming in and out of your life. Like, some jobs are more conducive to travel or whatever things that might matter to you, others are not. And so, just as an adult, you have to take that into account. But the related piece of that is, look, like, so what can I control and what can I change? Now, you've decided you're ready to leave, and so that change is coming. It just happens to be a very it's a multi-month process,
Right.
And I, when you were talking, I was thinking about when I was in college, which was probably one of the lowest points in my life, of just pre-ROTC. I had left North Georgia. I was depressed. I was like, I just don't know. And I walked by the ROTC building and I just said, fuck it, I'm going in. Like, I've always felt like this was probably where I was going to end up. And that ended up changing the trajectory. Now, as you all know, I did 20 years, but at the same time, I was ready to leave it, because it
20
got
years
me
in the Army, not
where I wanted to
state
be, but it wasn't where I wanted to keep going in life. Just between moves, and I was getting tired of the whole dynamic of rank and all that shit. And I just got tired of it. And so I shed it all off, which is probably why I'm closer now to a 7 or an 8. Whereas even while I was still in, there was a couple of jobs I would have told you it was a 5. Like, I came home angry every day, hated what I did. I was frustrated. I got tired of trying to convince people of certain things. And so even the Army, I can break into phases of happiness, like up and down. So that's what I related to anyway when you were telling that story of the phase of your life. And I just think you're in a different phase that you are starting to shape and control, hopefully, this year.
getting to that, that 7 or 8, hopefully.
And I think part of it is I go, oh, well, if I'm a 5 or a 6, that means I've got plenty more to strive for. If I'm at a 7 or 8 or 9, I'm like, okay, well, what's left? What's that extra
maintaining a 7, 8, and 9 the rest of your life?
What is that one?
Right?
What do I have to do to get that 1 or 2 to get up to a 10?
Well, it depends. It depends. It varies on each person's life, right?
I mean, winning the lottery. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know about you, but winning the lottery definitely takes me up at least 2 digits, if not 3.
That's right.
Maybe. Right. We say that. Maybe not. Right. Maybe it brings its own set of challenges.
I know. How much ass can a man eat one day? How much quality
Zero.
ass can a man
Zero
eat
is
one
the
day?
answer.
Money doesn't buy happiness, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
How much ass can an ass man eat if an ass man can't eat ass? I got you.
That's right.
We're right there. No, I think it was just my way of just trying to look at it honestly for myself, because I know that's something I strive. I think I tend to try to sugarcoat things for myself and go, that's not that bad. And it's like, but isn't it?
I really want to give you a hug right now.
No, and again, it's not like I'm sitting here morose and depressed going, oh, fuck. Grinch, I don't know if you remember in the mid 2000s, and I don't remember exactly when I was like, you and I were talking on the phone, and you had, at that point, we're even contemplating, like, I'm thinking about after my tour is done, separating from the military, going into what is the FBI or the Treasury
Secret
Department,
Service,
something like that. Yeah. And at the time I thought, okay, he's going to make that move. And then it was just like, nope, I'm going to stay the course. This is what I'm doing.
Well, when you find out your wife's pregnant and
You gotta make
you're
some
due for a
decisions.
PCS,
Yeah.
health insurance is pretty important,
And then you get to that
it's funny
point where
that
you're
way,
like, I've got 10 years in. If I do another 10 years, I get a retirement, right? Then you're like,
That's
why
exactly
am I
how
going
it
to
went.
separate?
Yep, that's
Right.
exactly
Yeah.
how it went.
Um,
Thor, I was. There's a quote we used to joke about: optimist versus pessimist. I'm either satisfied. If you're a pessimist, you're either satisfied you're right or pleasantly surprised.
That's right.
Do you know that pleasantly surprised thing that you talk about, that you've said to us for years? I actually apply that a lot of times in my life. Believe it or not, it's stuck with me. And
It's a funny mantra,
and it is one, and there's some serious applicability to it, right? Like, there are times where, you know what? I'd rather just be pleasantly surprised. I don't want to know. I just don't want to.
Ignorance is bliss
Uh-huh.
until it's not.
And sometimes I'm willing to take that chance.
Yeah. And Mac, you texted, I don't say it for anybody to be bothered by the fact that that's where I'm viewing.
Well, and I know that's not why
myself.
you're saying it, but that's just the way I feel.
No, but let's be honest. Like, you two are in North Carolina. He's fucking 5,000 miles. Like, would I like to be able to spend more time with you guys? Of course.
You say that
Like,
now.
No,
Until you start
look,
spending more time with us.
Look, we harass Haas, but and honestly, like, being able to get on in game, like, there's a comfort to that. I enjoy that, and I know that doesn't exist right now.
I assume.
Well, yeah, we do. We've tried. We fucking tried. But I know, like, everybody's got their own life, and it's like looking forward to this every week, and it's why I ask you guys: do you guys still want to do that? Are you still invested? Is it because I understand there are other things going on in people's lives, and so it's just like, if you don't, it is speaking that hard truth. It's going, look, I've got other shit. I can't devote the kind of time. I mean, because Mac, you plan all week, and I know it eats up a lot of your time to prepare for this show.
I know.
So
but
if you're like,
I'm
look,
dedicated like that,
and I appreciate
and willing to
that
put
about
in
you.
the time to do it.
You're a man among men.
I try. Can you move that cable, by the way? That has been bugging me for like the last hour and a half.
This
Just
cable
hanging there.
here?
Yes, that cable
Right
there.
here? No.
It's not getting moved now, Matt. Why did you
I
have to
know.
say
Why
that?
did you even say it?
Yeah.
I'm driving
Because
8
it's a
hours.
true testament to his
move
character.
myself.
He couldn't
See,
not
I
say
don't
it.
want that. I don't want that thread to just keep running. So I moved it. Now you don't
I'm
know
a
what
9
to
now.
think.
Spite.
I'm easily a 9 now.
You're a 9 now.
Yep, that did it. I'm a 5. Fuck.
That's better. Look, if anything were easy, we'd all be doing it.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
Which
Grinch.
must
So
mean
did
eating ass is really, really difficult.
Grinch? Did this topic come out the way you thought?
Oh man, it was like I wrote
Gold.
the script.
Solid
It's the
gold.
train wreck you expected, huh?
Did you
Where-
expect going
where are
into
my
this?
notes?
Honestly,
Where are my notes?
But yeah. So
you expect
did
us to
everybody
agree?
land where you thought they would land?
Well, I,
If you
don't
gave
think
an
I didn't make any bones about it. I said I didn't.
Yes.
He knew
Now,
that.
I suspected with Haas because, like I said, it's a rigid, it's a tight statement that usually doesn't sit well when baby's put in the corner. And now Thor gave some indicators when we were gaming this week, so I kind of had a sense. I didn't know.
I kept this one close to
the.
the
Yeah.
chest.
Yeah, like
all
you do.
week.
Like, I'm keeping it right here, and I'm only going to talk about it on the show.
In my heart,
Mm-hmm.
The heart of your bottom.
Cockle.
the heart of my bottom.
Exactly. I mean, again, I enjoy doing this with you. I love having the topics. I appreciate when you guys bring topics to the table for us to talk about.
It's a good one. I appreciate it.
was a good
Yeah.
one.
Sure.
And,
I like
and,
getting
and,
to know you guys better after all these years.
and I don't disagree with your belief that certain things indicate certain characteristics about people, and you can watch and you can, like, the choices that they make, or the way they treat people, or the way they
drinks
make
they
a
bring to the-
drink, or the
Yeah.
way they drink that drink. That informs. But I don't think that it is across the board. You can't
Next
just,
week, Haas is gonna have like a hollowed out pineapple with like 30 things.
and I'm gonna have a beer.
He's just gonna pour. It's gonna be like one of the little kamikazes. He's gonna pour a
I'm
little bit of
gonna have an
alcohol in.
ass. I'm gonna have a really nice ass right here. I'm gonna drink it. Out
Oh,
of
you're gonna have
said
like an
ass.
ice luge. I like
That's
it.
right. I'm gonna drink
Hey
it
guys,
out of
I'm
the
not gonna be
ass.
able to
Yeah.
make next week.
It looks like a butt.
It's gonna be nice and hairy just for you, Mac.
Yeah. But yes, I do
Can
appreciate
you rub
it.
it through TSA first?
You
Nope.
absolutely can.
That I cannot do.
No?
Not even for
Okay,
Thor.
well,
Nope.
Fuck.
I can have one of you run it through TSA first, but I cannot.
Not him. Well, again, I appreciate you guys week in and week out doing this. For all of our listeners at home, maybe you need to ask yourself some questions about where you are in life. And, we're not trying to be motivational speakers here, but maybe you need to look at where your life is and are you honest with yourself about those things? And do you agree or disagree with how you do anything is how you do everything? And I think, this house divided here, I'm not sure. I haven't changed my position. I can understand the points that you've made, both of you, but I still think it is situational in terms of our approach to things, how we deal with people, how we deal with situations. So, but that's just me. Grinch, if this works for you and is how you want to mold your life, I will support you 100%. Just know that. All right. So for all of our listeners at home, feel free to drop us a line at the Four Horsemen of the Spirited Debate. You can't go out to our website because guess what? It's gone.
Or the newly set up Dos Jinetes.
Dos Jinetes.
Email
do you
address.
guys?
The spinoff.
The spinoff.
The spinoff. Yes. Exactly. Dos Jinetes, and that will be Big Mac and Grinch extolling the virtues of just doing a 2-man show instead of a 4-man show.
And yes, I sent the fucking video again.
I've watched it like 3 times, actually. I just didn't piece it together. That's the worst part.
Except the unfortunate part about the Dos Jinetes is they're going to be sending me all of their audio so that I can edit it and post it for them.
You're still going to
do
edit
it themselves.
You got a Dropbox set up? We can just...
It's it. Yes, actually, I do. I'll send you the link.
We just go raw and unfiltered, raw dog style.
The Four Horsemen of DespiritedDebate.com. Drop us a line there. A drink you'd like us to try, a topic you'd like us to debate. We would love to hear from you. Feel free to put that out there. If we can get you on, we would love to get you on if it fits into your schedule and you're willing to step into the studio with the 4 knuckleheads. More power to you. Gentlemen, as always, I appreciate it. Week in and week out, you guys doing this, bringing your perspective, your
appreciate
beliefs,
you, bro.
Yeah.
And your ability, bringing your ability to eat ass unconditionally to this show, Haas. Thank you.
I'm telling you guys, but you don't know what you're missing. I'm telling you.
I'm pretty sure I do, and I'm okay with missing it.
You don't.
With that being
we
said,
need to have a sidebar conversation.
With that being said, we will leave it there. I love you guys, and we will do this again next week. So thank you very much. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are solely those of the hosts or guests involved and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the host or guests may or may not be associated with in a professional or personal capacity, unless explicitly stated. While guests are invited to listen, listeners acknowledge that they are not being provided professional advice from the podcast or its guests. The content within the parameters of A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Any views or opinions are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or individual.